got another huge story that has just broken here moments ago. The FDA advisory panel voting not to recommend booster shots of the Pfizer COVID vaccine for people 16 and older. The rollout, we were told by the White House just yesterday, was going to get started on Monday before they had even come forward with these findings. Let's bring in Dr. Marty Makary, Johns Hopkins University professor, editor-in-chief of MedPage Today, and a Fox News medical contributor. Your reaction, doctor, to this news?
Hi, Martha. Well, clearly the committee were extremely frustrated with the insufficient data. This is not their normal process. Normally, they have people followed very closely in a trial. Instead, they got some of that data, and then they had a study done in Israel, and they had leaders from that study come in and present to them. Specifically, there was concerns about younger people, and typically that vote is put before the experts as a binary vote. Do you or do you not agree with this request to make it available to people all the way down to age 16? It's the insufficient data on younger people that really killed this vote. Now, the FDA is talking about repositioning that question, something they rarely do, but they may reframe it as a question specifically for older Americans.
Yeah, you make a great point, as you usually do, about the focus on younger people. And I know that there were some concerns about inflammation of the heart in younger patients who received the vaccine, and whether or not the benefit of receiving the vaccine outweighed the risk of that, given their risk of severe illness. Explain that to everyone.
So kids are at higher risk of heart inflammation, myocarditis and pericarditis. Their immune response and inflammatory response is just a lot stronger. Right. So Dr. Seymour today and the FDA panel, Dr. Stern, both really warned about the unknown with kids. We've seen these complications clustered around the second dose of the mRNA vaccine. And so when we're talking about a third, don't you think we should have good data? That was their argument. I'm concerned as well. And finally, the global equity issue came up. Remember, half the world has not gotten any vaccine.
Right. No, it's a great point. You have to look at the whole globe in terms of immunizing people so that we can knock this back and knock back the variants that are potentially developing as well. The other thing that I hear no discussion about, and you and I have talked a lot about this, especially with regard to young people, many of whom have had COVID. We don't have any studies. The CDC gets millions and millions of dollars to do research. And yet the United States of America is relying on Israeli studies. We have no studies that show the benefit of having had COVID plus one shot in young people, which it may be that is sufficient to give them immunity, correct?
That's right. And if there was a wake-up call ever to the United States, it was that how are we getting the biggest study worldwide on natural immunity out of Israel, showing natural immunity is 27 times more effective than vaccinated immunity, and yet the CDC, with 21,000 employees, has not done any study comparable. So that's a big miss. And right now, when we talk about vaccine recommendations, not talking about natural immunity is a way in which public health officials lose credibility. By the way, the complication rate may be higher after vaccination in those who have previous natural immunity, right. And that's one of the concerns in teens.
And is that because they've already built an immunity, then they get a shot on top of that, and now we're talking about potentially another shot on top of that for them? And I just want to be clear. All we're saying here is that we need to have the data. We need to know how these young people respond before we start, because we know once the FDA says, yes, we would recommend this Pfizer shot for a third round, the next time we're going to be talking about mandates for this, right?
That's right. And everybody may do well with a different dosing strategy and regimen. It may be that teens do fine with one dose. Yeah. There's some good data to support that.